My first job was straight out of college, actually. I wrote many, many letters when I left college. And one of them that I wanted to meet was a designer named Patricia Ziprot, who was a famous theater designer in New York. And I had heard back from her to call her when I got to New York. So I had an appointment with Tony Walton, who also lived in New York. And I went to see Tony, and I showed him my portfolio, and we chatted and talked, and he said to me, you know, your work just reminds me of a designer I know very well, Patricia Ziprot. And I said, first of all, that's the most flattering thing you could ever say to me. I said, I've been trying to reach her, I can't. You know, the phones are all down past 14th Street. He said, oh yeah, I know, there's a big thing. He said, I'm gonna see her tonight because we're doing a play together. And I will see her, and I'm going to tell her to call you, make sure she calls you, give me your phone. And so she did hire me as a second assistant on the production was Chicago, which Bob Fosse was directing. And I didn't get paid, but I got heaps of experience, and what an experience it was. I started working for Santo Loquacio. I was his assistant. He was offered a movie working for Marshall Brickman, who was directing the film, who was a writing partner of Woody Allen's. Marshall had recommended Santo to Woody for his next film because he was looking for a costume designer. And so off we went, and we did that. And Santo designed, it was Stardust Memories. I was the assistant. He took another job, and Woody's next film came up, and Santo was no longer available. But he said to Woody, you should hire Jeff to do the film because you don't like to meet new people. You're used to him. You know what he looks like. It's not a stranger in your midst. And that's how it began. And then, 16 years later, there I was. And then there's Radio Days, which is this amazing period film that echoed my family life at that time. When I was a young boy, my family would take a house by the beach and all lived in it all summer. It was so interesting in that way that I could experience that. Working for Woody was so amazing because I got to do so many things that you normally would never be able to do. Period films, black and white films, stylized films. We did a musical. I mean, it was fascinating. So do I have a favorite? No, they're all my favorites for one reason or another, to be honest with you. Speaking of the movie Erin Brockovich, which was an incredible project to do, because as we all do as costume designers, we love to do our research and research characters and this and the other thing. But in this particular case, the character that was the movie, Erin Brockovich, was with us. She was alive and well and on the set. And so I got to spend time with the real life person that I was creating. But when you have the actual person there, you realize you can't recreate the actual person on another person, the actress, because the actress has something to say about it too, and they have to form this character out of themselves. So you're just getting the essence of that person, but you can get it in such a unique way when you get to talk to that person. So the time I spent with Erin Brockovich was unbelievable. It was great. That was my first film with Steven Soderbergh, who then hired me to do the first Ocean's 11. I was being asked to take the original idea of Ocean's 11, the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis, Dean Martin, blah, 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 and infuse the feeling of what those guys had together into a modern day film about them that was not about them. So it had to be new contemporary actors being those characters with the same feeling as it held in the 60s. I did a film called Inception for Christopher Nolan, which was one of the most original scripts I had ever read. I had to literally read it 4 times before I could actually have my first meeting with Chris. If you've seen the film, there are all sorts of levels of dreams and reality and flashbacks. I realized well into it that the costumes were what was telling the audience where we were and what time we were in, and where it was. So we had a huge burden as far as that was concerned also, because we very much had to help tell the story in a reality sense. You can't tell a person in this particular field how to go and do it, because it all happens rather haphazardly and accidentally, I found, at least I think. So it's kind of, you just thrust yourself in there and do what you want to do. You better love it though, I will say that. My advice to anybody doing this is you better love it, because it ain't easy. It's a lot of hard work, and a lot of elbow grease and a lot of brain power that goes into what we do. And so you got to love it. And if you love it, you won't need any advice because you'll just keep doing it. My name is Jeffrey Kurland. I'm a costume designer.